In 2017, Christina wanted to explore more of the connections between design and mathematical thinking, and so introduced students to a 20-column, 20-row template. Aside from being a much larger space to navigate in terms of pattern design, the other big difference was the fact that this template had an even number of rows, and therefore there wasn't a row or column to act as a line of symmetry. Because of this, creating symmetrical designs is difficult. This is in contrast to the other templates the students used, which were either 5, 7, or 9 rows. The middle row acts as a line of symmetry. Students tried many initial designs, many of which were unsuccessful. Mike started a wall of perseverance in the class as students could have a visual representation of their efforts. Students finally found a solution, which was to use the 2 middle columns and/or 2 middle rows to act as lines of symmetry. And then the student designs took off. Christina asked students to calculate how long they would need to make their bracelets. The beads we use, size 10, are 5 to a centimeter, so 5 columns of the template is equal to 1 centimeter of beadwork. Given their total wrist measurement, they subtracted 2 centimeters from each end for the hide, and the remaining length was the beadwork. So, for example, if my wrist is 14 centimeters, I subtract 4 centimeters and I'm left with 10 centimeters of beadwork. Students had to multiply the number of centimeters of beadwork they needed by 5 to calculate the number of columns their pattern would be. They then needed to calculate how many of the 20-column templates they'd need by dividing the total number of columns by 20. In this example, I'd need 2 full templates, which would be 40 columns, and then I'd need an additional 10 columns, or half a template, to make up a full 50 columns. In this video, we'll see some examples of students making these kinds of calculations. For example, this student's wrist was 19 centimeters. The student subtracted 4 centimeters for the hide ends to get 15 centimeters of beadwork. 15 multiplied by 5 columns per centimeter is 75 columns. This means the student needs 3 full templates, 60 columns, with 15 left over. The student rounded this up to 16 so that there could be 8 columns on either side of the 3 full templates. The student also calculated that they'd need 75 columns multiplied by 20 rows of beads, which is 1,500 beads. In another example, this student's wrist was 13 centimeters. Subtract 4 centimeters is 9 centimeters of beadwork. 5 columns multiplied by 9 centimeters is 45 columns. So this student needs 2 full templates with 5 columns left over. The student rounded up to 6 additional columns and added 3 columns on either side of the full templates, making a total of 46 columns for their bracelet. Resulting work was carefully calculated and each piece fit perfectly. And even though students were taught specific designs, they explored their own creations. Again, this reinforces the idea that teaching by direct instruction or modeling doesn't have to result in surface-level learning by copying.